today's video, I'm going to be ranking every single current King and Queen of the Ring participant based on how much I personally would have liked to see them win the tournament. And I'm including everyone, including all of those that have already been eliminated as of the making of this video. And I'm ranking them from worst to best, worst being the one that I would have least liked to see win their tournament, and best being the one that I absolutely would have loved to see win the tournament. And yeah, you bet this list is insanely biased. It's based purely on my own personal wants, based on how much I like the wrestlers from an in-ring perspective, how much I like them as a storyteller, as a promo, if I think it'll make a new star, if I think that they need the win, if I think that this will make an interesting storyline. I've included all biased things. So yeah, whatever, get mad. It's still just a fun little video. It's not a big deal. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications if you're a wrestling fan. I know that you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. By the way, don't forget, if you want more than just daily wrestling content, come over to the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZab. Over there, you're gonna get so much more extra content like the Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, and so much more extra content that uses footage that we can never post here because it would just get blocked due to copyright. So come check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's start the video. All right, let's kick things off by talking about the Queen of the Ring tournament. At number 16, in last place, I actually have somebody that I rather like. I've become a fan of them over the last year and a bit since they've returned back to the WWE. I'm talking about Nia Jax. Folks, at this point, I am no longer a Nia Jax denier. She's solid. She's been having great matches, solid storytelling. Does she mess up from time to time? Yeah, absolutely. There's some pretty funny clips out there, even in her most recent run. But I can't deny that she's been having some good storylines and some decent matches, especially recently against Tiffany Stratton. Really, we're at the point where if Nia Jax hasn't won you over yet, she's probably never going to because she's just not your cup of tea. But me, she's won me over, and yet I still have her in dead last. Why? Well, that's because it'd be boring to have her be the Queen of the Ring winner, considering she literally won this tournament last year. I don't want to see WWE do a repeat winner this quickly into the return of the life of the Queen and King of the Ring tournaments. But it's not even just that. When I look at the main event picture, I think I'm kind of Nia Jaxed out here for a little bit. I'm down for her to have a different storyline, a different feud that isn't just for the WWE Women's Championship. She's basically been in the championship picture since the lead up to SummerSlam last year, and I'm down to see her do something else entirely. On top of that, I can think of several different women that I think could create a more intriguing storyline as we head towards SummerSlam based on who the current champions are. I know that Tiffany Stratton might not be champion by the time SummerSlam runs around, but right now, the option that is there on paper is to run Nia Jax versus Tiffany Stratton again at SummerSlam, and I feel like I've been there, done that. I've seen enough. It was solid, but not good enough to warrant giving a Queen of the Ring victory back-to-back win to Nia Jax and running it again at SummerSlam. So I'm good. This is in last for me. Now let's go to number 15. Here I have Charlotte Flair, and oh boy, how the internet would explode if Charlotte Flair were to win the Queen of the Ring tournament. I, of course, do not hate Charlotte Flair. In fact, I actually rather enjoy her. That being said, just because I'm a Charlotte Flair enjoyer doesn't mean that I liked her winning the Royal Rumble, because I didn't want to see that. And after seeing her win the Royal Rumble, I sure as hell do not want to see her win the King of the Ring tournament. Queen of the Ring tournament. My bad. Get my lingo all mixed up here. But how boring would that be for Charlotte Flair to win two of the major championship opportunities that give her a championship match at the two biggest shows of the year? I don't think anyone's on board to co-sign that. Yeah, I guess the moniker fits. She's the queen, and if she were to win the Queen of the Ring tournament, she would be the Queen of Queens. That's a kind of a hype moniker, but that's not a good enough reason for me to want to sit through another Charlotte Flair victory that she doesn't frankly need. Plus, Charlotte Flair is at this point in her career where she could be inserted into pretty much anything, whether it's a main event program, mid-card program, a grudge program without a title, and I think most people would be down for it. Maybe not necessarily the World Championship picture. I think a lot of people would be pissed, but again, I actually like Charlotte Flair. But to make the case that she should win the Queen of the Ring tournament, brother, you better come backed up with a 15-page essay with references from experts around the world as to why this is a good idea, because it's not. Now let's talk about number 14. I have Piper Niven. I just think that this is a boring choice in general, considering she's just part of a tag team anyway. I know that she's a great in-ring competitor as a solo, but we haven't seen her as such for a rather long time at this point. And to have her win the Queen of the Ring tournament, it would just feel so unnatural and out of nowhere, and it wouldn't feel earned in any capacity. Not earned in the sense that she hasn't done the work over the last, so many years that she's been a professional wrestler, but unearned from a storyline perspective. It would just feel so sudden and rushed. Plus, her and the Secret Hervis have been getting clowned on Friday Night SmackDown for the last couple of months, so to see her win the Queen of the Ring tournament, it would just feel weird and unnatural. So I'm good. I don't want to see this, but I'd rather see this over Charlotte. I'll say that. Now let's talk about number 13. I have Candice LeRae. Honestly, my reasonings here aren't at all that different from what I said about Piper Niven. This would feel rushed, unnatural, out of nowhere, and unearned. I think it'd be kind of cool to make a new singles top star out of Candice LeRae, but really, does it make sense to do that based on the way that they've been booking her over the last year and a bit, based on her current role as basically a manager of DIY? It just wouldn't be right. Had they maybe done something with an actual split up storyline between her and Nia Jax, as she turned babyface on Nia Jax after Nia Jax bullied her or something, then maybe it could make sense. But right now, as it stands, this would feel like just random for the sake of random. So not 2025. Maybe if they were to build something interesting for 2026, 2027, but as it stands, 2025, keep this away from Candice LeRae. Let's see who comes in at number 12. I have a feeling this is gonna piss off a huge portion of the fan base. Yeah, I have Rhea Ripley fairly low. Not because I'm not a fan of Rhea Ripley. I love Rhea Ripley. She's awesome. I love that she's in the main event scene at all times because it just means that we get more mommy in main event profile segments. But it's the same reason why I didn't want to see her win the Money in the Bank briefcase. She just doesn't need it. She is a walking, breathing embodiment of being a number one contender. She is always in the championship picture, and to give her a King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring victory would just feel a little bit redundant. She's going to get to the championship picture in some way, shape, or form. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets to the championship picture maybe as early as Evolution or at some point at SummerSlam without even needing the Queen of the Ring victory. So if I can logically connect the dots as to how to get Rhea Ripley to a world championship picture without the Queen of the Ring tournament, why burn the Queen of the Ring victory on her? So basically what I'm saying is she's so over, she's so popular, that why? What would be the point of burning something like this on a Rhea Ripley? But here's the thing, I could have seen it happen. Obviously, she's already been eliminated, but based on WWE's track record of pushing Rhea Ripley, I think that she, at first, when I saw that tournament bracket, had to have been considered one of the favorites. But now that she's been eliminated, we can talk a little bit more candidly. I still think, even with her being eliminated, that she's probably going to be in one of the main events of SummerSlam for the women's division. So her being eliminated, I don't think there's any point in crying over spilled milk, because I think we're still going to get to the exact same point that we would have been at had she won the tournament anyway. Now let's talk about number 11. I have Liv Morgan. Almost identical reasons for Rhea Ripley, maybe not necessarily for how often she's in the main event, but right now she doesn't need this. She's already hot. She's already on the heels of Io Sky. I could already see an Io Sky versus Liv Morgan match happening at SummerSlam or at Evolution, or maybe even at Night of Champions as of the making of this video, without her winning the Queen of the Ring tournament. Again, just like Rhea Ripley, she's already been eliminated, so I feel like making a case here is kind of just an uphill battle. Clearly, WWE saw what probably I'm seeing, which is that you can do so much with Liv Morgan without needing to just shoehorn her to the Queen of the Ring. On top of that, she already won something major at a Saudi event. She was the Crown Jewel champion, so to see basically the exact same type of celebration again within like a 7-8 month span, I don't know, man, that doesn't entice me too much. But she's gonna get to the championship picture, and she's already a champion. Like, she's busy with the women's tag team championships, at least she should be, even though WWE isn't really booking the women's tag team division, but she should be busy with those titles. So she's got so much going on. Like, look at like what she has currently laid out in the landscape of just what's being booked for her. Right now, she is feuding with Roxanne Perez. She has a tag tag team feud with B-Fab and Michin. Right now, she just started a program with Nikki Bella. I don't know what that'll eventually lead to, some sort of tag match, I can imagine. So now to do Queen of the Ring as well, like obviously she's a workhorse, she can handle it, but that's a lot going on for Liv Morgan. So I'm actually glad that they didn't go in this direction, although honestly, had she won, I don't think that I would have hated it. Now let's talk about number 10. I have Raquel Rodriguez, and no, this isn't me saying that I like Raquel Rodriguez more than Liv Morgan or Rhea Ripley, but Raquel Rodriguez is a bit of an unknown commodity in the main event. At least this would have been brave and bold to go with a Raquel Rodriguez, but she's also fairly low on this list because she's also the tag champion, and I'd rather her just focus on that. And she's also low because she isn't my favorite when it comes to in-ring or promos or anything like that. So I have a hard time picturing her in a main event program of the biggest SummerSlam in WWE history. So respectfully, I'm going to pass on Raquel Rodriguez. That's why I have her fairly low here. Again, that's not me saying that I like Raquel more than Liv or Rhea. Now let's talk about number 9. I have Michin. I feel like in a different month, if we were making this video 3-4 months ago, Michin might have been my literal number 1 on this list. But I feel like ever since her program with Chelsea Green, her stock has unfortunately just kind of continued to go down for me. And I haven't been overly impressed with Michin over the last couple of months, even though I was very high on her at the start of the year. Similar to the Candice LeRae's and Piper Nevins of the world, I feel like this would seem a little bit too random and out of nowhere, albeit far more earned because she has been in a singles program for the majority of 2025, having solid matches with the likes of Chelsea Green. They could be a little bit hit or miss, but she had some good ones and some stinkers, sure. But at least there's been an attempt in 2025 to make Michin a single star, unlike the likes of Piper Nevin or Candice LeRae. But she ranks higher than some of the other people that are on here because, again, she'd be an interesting unknown commodity. It'd be a brave, bold move for WWE to give a vote of confidence like a Queen of the Ring victory to Michin. I think also partly why I have her low is when I look at the prospects of who she could be feuding with going into SummerSlam from the SmackDown side of things, and no option sounds particularly like, oh man, I have to see that program for sure. Whether it's Tiffany Stratton or Naomi or like Jade Cargill, like none of those options, which are like the most realistic options to be champion going into SummerSlam, sound like a money feud for Michin. Well, I guess it'd be a money feud, like huge feud for Michin, but it wouldn't be like awesome for the fans, I don't think. Let's talk about number 8. We have the Pitbull, Ivy Nile. Many of you guys know that I'm rather high on Ivy Nile. I've been telling people to buy their Ivy Nile stocks while they're cheap right now, because I think within the next couple of years, we could see Ivy Nile potentially becoming a breakout star in the women's singles division. Right now, she's a member of American Made, but in my opinion, she stands out so much more to me than both of the Creed brothers. Like, to me, I think she's the one that's going to break out of all of them. But we're still really early on in that, like so early on, that's why I don't really have her that close to the top of the list, because if we were talking 2027, 2028, then maybe, yeah, I could see a world where WWE wants to finally pull the trigger on somebody dangerous like an Ivy Nile. But right now, I think that there's still a lot of building blocks that need to be placed for Ivy Nile to feel like a genuine contender and a threat if she were to win the Women's Queen of the Ring. Women's Queen of the Ring. How many times am I going to say that over the next month? Queen of the Ring. Part of the reason why I don't have her that particularly high, even though I think she'd be an intriguing option from, creating a new star perspective, is that I haven't really gotten to see a lot from her promos and from her storytelling as of yet, because she's been such a background character in everything that she's been involved in. So I'd like to see her be more of a forefront character before WWE makes the decision to push her to something big like the Queen of the Ring. Lucky number 7. I have Kairi Sane. I think from here on out, these are people that I genuinely would have liked to see win the tournament. Kairi Sane is just awesome, dude. And it's just always felt like she's always played second fiddle to the likes of Asuka and Io Sky, and even to like a degree Dakota Kai when they were in Damage Control. But she's just so likable, so charismatic, so fun in the ring. And ever since making her return, she's been in a little bit of a win streak that made me kind of feel like maybe WWE is now ready to make the push with Kairi Sane. And they've done it before, and done it before successfully when she was the women's NXT champion. So WWE knows how to book a champion Kairi Sane at the top of the card. I mean, it was Triple H that was booking NXT at the time, and Triple H is booking things now. So the guy that's in charge is the guy that knows how to book a main event Kairi Sane. It's just about being brave brave and pull the trigger and actually getting us there, which WWE didn't end up doing. In fact, she ended up taking the pin against Roxanne Perez. But had she won, I wouldn't have been shocked because it would have continued the win streak that she's got going. I would have really liked to see the other matches that we would have got in the semifinals and even maybe the finals had she gotten there. I feel like there would just been a lot of intriguing, interesting match options for a Kairi Sane if she got further into the tournament. But another reason why I would have liked to see her there is because I think it would have been really intriguing from a storyline perspective to see her have to go up against her friend Io Sky for that WWE Women's Championship at SummerSlam. And best friends turn foes is like a story as old as time in the world of the WWE. Like, you literally cannot screw that up. So yeah, honestly, I would have liked this. I would have liked to see Kairi Sane win the Queen of the Ring. Let's see who I have at number 6. I have Asuka returning from a long hiatus, over a year that she's been gone from the WWE. It's just unfortunate that WWE announced her return with a tiny little 3-pixel picture of her at the bottom right of the Queen of the Ring bracket. But hey, I'm just excited that Asuka is back, and I feel like the reason why she would have been a good option is because she is a known commodity in the main event that still feels like has never really gotten the full respect. So what I'm saying is that we know she can roll in the main event. We know that she can be good in the main event, but it's always sort of felt like she was always the B tier player, even whenever she was in the main event, based on how she was booked when she was in the main event, either as a champion or as a challenger. But WWE giving her a Queen of the Ring victory, maybe in the twilight of her career, might signal like one last heavy attempt to push Asuka, and I don't know how anyone could hate that. I like seeing veterans just being like gunslingers at the end of their career, making one last push, and that's the narrative that they probably would have been telling here with the Queen of the Ring tournament. On top of that, similar to Kairi Sane, would have been interesting to see Damage Control buddies Io Sky and Asuka having a match for this championship with probably a heel Asuka, honestly. So based on the prospect of seeing, you know, one last big push of Asuka, treating her like a real A-player main eventer, and the prospect of a match against Io Sky, all of those reasons have her pretty high. Let's talk about number 5. I have Roxanne Perez. I want WWE to be bold with these NXT call-ups. I want WWE to tell the world that when you get called up from NXT, it matters. It means that you're going to be something in the WWE. And you honestly can't get better at sending that message than making Roxanne Perez your Queen of the Ring winner. It's clear WWE is already high on Roxanne Perez based on how she's been booked, based on the fact that she had a great showing at the Elimination Chamber, based on the fact that she had a record-setting performance in the Royal Rumble. So a Queen of the Ring victory seems like a pretty natural progression based on how they've been booking her. But really, like, the reason as to why you would have Roxanne Perez win is just the awesome dynamic that this would create within the Judgment Day, with a Liv Morgan who lost in that tournament having to now bow down to Queen Roxanne Perez, Dominic Mysterio maybe having his eyes turned to somebody that could be a bigger star than Liv Morgan based on the accolades that she has in 2025 as a Queen of the Ring winner. Honestly, the storylines would be pretty awesome. And her versus Io is also a very intriguing matchup as well that I wouldn't scoff at. So yeah, Roxanne Perez, I genuinely see it. As of the making of this video, she has moved on in the tournament, and I think you have to consider her a strong candidate to potentially come out as the winner. Let's talk about number 4 now. I have Chelsea Green. She's off the back of a United States Championship run that I don't think was fantastic for the division. However, I think it was fantastic at showing the world how great she is as a character, because she evolved her character with this presidential Chelsea Green, pledge your allegiance to Chelsea Green, created the secret Hervis. Like, all of this stuff was great. If she was able to do all of that and elevate her character work with a United States Championship win, something that didn't really have any lineage up until she won the championship, imagine what kind of character development she could do if she were to become a queen. She would be the most obnoxious person ever, and it would be kind of hype, because right now it doesn't really make sense for her to be running with the secret Hervis, considering she isn't the United States champion anymore. So I don't really know why she has a cabinet or detailed security duty anymore. But if she were a queen absolutely needs a secret security detail. So based on what you can do with the character character of being queen, all right? Being a queen, Chelsea Green is genuinely perfect. Now, normally I don't like when a WWE superstar wins the King or Queen of the Ring tournament when they start taking on like, I'm King Baron Corbin, I'm Queen Zelina, I'm King Xavier Woods. It's always corny, right? However, it somehow feels perfect for Chelsea Green to be running around in a robe, a scepter, and a crown. So yeah, give me this. I love it. Now let's talk about the top three, ladies and gents. Coming in third place, I have Alexa Bliss, pretty much because I love Alexa Bliss and I think that she's awesome. And I feel like they got to do something with her push, considering just how popular she is, how big a pop she tends to get. I want to see them do something with Alexa Bliss. Unlike Rhea Ripley, for example, with Alexa Bliss having been gone for so long, I do think that we need to rebuild Alexa Bliss before she can just be getting random championship opportunities. So her winning the Queen of the Ring, I think, is a perfect way to reintroduce Alexa Bliss as the main eventer that me and you used to love in the late 2010s. Plus, WWE has been building her to be this like dangerous figure within the women's division. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think that they've done a great job at actually portraying that. So I'd like for them to actually portray that and pull the trigger and make her the Queen of the Ring. Honestly, you cannot go wrong with her being the Queen of the Ring. She would do such a great job with it. Let's just be frank about that. But I will say, almost to a degree, almost like Asuka, it's never really felt like Alexa Bliss has been like the A player in the main event scene for the WWE. She's always just sort of felt like a transitional champion for a time whenever she's holding the championship. But I would love for that to change. She's getting into that point in her career where she's so loved and respected by many, so let's book her as she is. At number two, I have somebody that just makes sense, and sometimes I just like things to make sense. That's Jade Cargill. Like, when I look at the entire women's field, when I look at where storylines can go, when I look at what you can do with a superstar with a win like this in terms of elevating them, I think Jade Cargill is literally the picture perfect mold of what you want out of a 2025 Queen of the Ring winner. Like, genuinely, I think she's the best suited option right now to run around as the Queen of the Ring. I think that it sets us up for a very intriguing, interesting new main event program against Tiffany Stratton. We know that Naomi is ever looming with the briefcase. So that in its own, like that combination of a program with Tiffy and the ever looming presence of her arch nemesis with the briefcase, make her the perfect person to go into SummerSlam to vie for the championship. Because whenever she is fighting for the championship, we just have to be on the edge of our seats because we just have to expect Naomi coming out at any moment. So even if she does win, our nerves can't calm down because we have to be on alert for a potential Naomi cash-in. And that to me is drama that you just cannot buy. And I love drama, all right? And I love when things make sense. Sometimes I don't like to overcomplicate things, which is why I have Jade Cargill so high on this list. But coming in at number one, I warned you that this was a super biased list, okay? Stephanie Vaquer, I don't care, all right? She is my favorite thing right now in the WWE, and it's similar to Roxanne Perez. If WWE wanted to make a statement with people from NXT, you make it with one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now in Stephanie. What I envision for Stephanie in 2025 with something like a Queen of the Ring victory is basically the Finn Balor push that they tried in 2017, but doing it right. You know, not that they did it wrong with Finn, it's just that like the gods and fate itself said, no, not with Finn, because obviously of the injury that happened to Finn Balor. But what if we tried again that mega push for somebody from NXT, but with Stephanie Vaquer, somebody that is an awesome wrestler, somebody that WWE already has clear confidence in by making her the NXT champion as quickly as they did, by calling her up to WWE's main roster as quickly as they did, by putting her in a PLE in just her second official match on the main roster. Third official match. You had the qualifying match and then the 6-woman tag match. Third official match before people are in the comments saying I'm wrong. But listen, the reason why I want this, aside from just the fact that I think Stephanie Vaquer is one of the best wrestlers on the planet, is because of the prospect of having her versus Io Sky. Like, to me, that match, we saw a little glimpse of it, a tiny little glimpse of it after WrestleMania in that match that was interrupted. But now imagine that on a big stage with plenty of time, with actual narratives and storytelling involved, we could be talking about maybe the best women's match that WWE ever produces. That alone right there. And the fact that I think Stephanie's one of the best and was one of my favorites, my God, that's why she's number one. Didn't realize how long this video was going to be, but now let's talk about the king of the ring. As you can see, we're starting at number 15 because there's no 16th person as of yet. We don't know who the mystery opponent is as of the making of this video, so I'm just using the ones that I know are in the tournament. I have Sheamus in dead last, not because I don't like Sheamus. In fact, I love Sheamus, but we've already been there, done that. I've already seen King Sheamus before, so in a similar vein to Nia Jax, I don't really need them to revisit this again. And the first time that they did it wasn't particularly very good. Then again, that was the era where you had to run around with a goofy ass like throne and scepter and robe calling himself King Sheamus. It wasn't a great time for WWE. Let's be fair about that. So maybe you would want to give it to him because, well, maybe let's do it right this time around, but I think I'm good. I don't think I need that. On top of that, I think that Sheamus's like sole championship focus in terms of what he's booked to go after should just always be the Intercontinental Champion. That's the one thing that fans want to see Sheamus eventually get, the Grand Slam victory. And winning the King of the Ring tournament doesn't really further that, when right now fans around the world are invested in the Grand Slam victory for Sheamus as opposed to another world championship run. Like, I genuinely think that if they were to run Sheamus for a world championship program, people would be like, okay. But if they were to run him for another IC championship program, they'd be like, okay. So no disrespect to Sheamus. Love Sheamus, but I think I'm good without seeing this. Now let's talk about number 14. Here I have Andrade. I think you can echo some of the things that I said about some of the women. For example, somebody like Candice LeRae. I am a huge fan of Andrade from an in-ring perspective, but WWE has not really done anything from a booking or storyline perspective in a really, really long time with Andrade to make this victory feel like genuinely earned. Hell, there were people, including myself, that question even having him in the Money in the Bank ladder match because he just wasn't a threat until we watched the ladder match, and then we realized, oh yeah, you put him in there because he's an awesome person to have in ladder matches. But I just don't feel the same way when it comes to a King of the Ring tournament because we don't need somebody that's just there for spots. I feel like for the King of the Ring, we need somebody that's an actual like viable contender. And based on what I've seen WWE book for Andrade over the last year and a bit, I don't think he's that guy, at least not yet. And I don't know that he ever will be. So giving him this King of the Ring victory would feel like random for the sake of random. It would feel like a swerve for the sake of a swerve. And I don't know, man, like nowadays in professional wrestling, that just never sits well for me. I like things to make sense. Don't get me wrong. I like surprises, but this wouldn't be a surprise. Like I said, it would just sort of feel random. Number 13. All right, let's talk about this. I have Shinsuke Nakamura. I have people that I really like really low on this list. I'm a huge fan of Shinsuke Nakamura, but basically you could take everything that I just said about Andrade and maybe like turn the volume up even higher for Shinsuke Nakamura. The only difference is that there were glimpses recently with Shinsuke as maybe this is somebody that WWE would actually like to invest in and push, but it hasn't really been the case. But his character shift to me is still awesome. It's still really intriguing. I would love for WWE to explore this even more. I just don't see it happen. And based on his lack of ring time, based on his rather disappointing storylines that he's had recently, based on just the historical booking of a Shinsuke Nakamura, I feel like this would be entirely random as well. Again, nothing against Shinsuke Nakamura, but I just don't think that this is the year. I don't think that this is right. It's like the polar opposite of when he won the Royal Rumble. When he won the Royal Rumble, I'm like, yeah, that was it. That was the perfect choice. Granted, they went on to screw it up royally to the point where Shinsuke has never recovered from that, but they made the right call back then. This year, this wouldn't be the right call. And unlike Asuka, this wouldn't be reviving a main event veteran for one last gunslinging push for a main event program because they've never really had him be the main eventer before, even when he won the Royal Rumble. Now let's talk about number 12. Here I have El Campeón, Damian Priest. And look, I've become a bit of a fan of Damian Priest, but I just can't put my finger on it. There is just something about Damian Priest that prevents me from fully buying in on him and getting excited at Damian Priest program. programs. Every time he's in a program, I'm like, and then his matches happen. I'm like, that was pretty good. Was it good enough to make me want the Damian Priest King of the Ring victory? Nah, I'm good. I just feel like Damian lacks this ability to get me like out of my seat and excited at his storylines and everything else that involves getting me excited about professional wrestling. And yet somehow I recognize that he's very good, but not somebody that I want to see the WWE like invest in so heavily that they give him another SummerSlam main event program like they did last year. Additionally, when I look at the like opportunities for Damian Priest, I don't want to see a John Cena championship match against Damian Priest. With all due respect to Damian Priest, that feels like a waste of a John Cena date when they're already such few and far between. And when I look at maybe him moving over to Monday Night Raw after he wins, I sure as hell do not want to see Damian Priest versus Gunther, because part of the problem of Gunther's last championship run was that he spent so much time with Damian Priest. So even the championship opportunities and what that looks like from a narrative perspective aren't very appealing for Damian Priest. I think right now I'm more interested in seeing Damian go up against Jacob Fatu more than anything else. So I'm kind of good at just passing on El Campeon. I don't want to see this. At number 11, we have easily the biggest name on this list. I have Cody Rhodes. I think that Cody Rhodes is very likely to win this, but this is Cody Rhodes. This is a guy that held the championship for over a year. This is a guy that just pinned John Cena at Money in the Bank. How does this guy not have a rematch? Based on just how long he held the championship, you would think he'd have a rematch clause. Based on pinning the champion, you'd think he'd get a rematch then, but no, you're going to put him in the King of the Ring tournament? This feels like overkill. If you were to just outright on Friday Night SmackDown come out and say, because Cody Rhodes was the former champion and because he pinned the current champion, he gets a match at SummerSlam, everybody would be like, yeah, duh, obviously, that makes so much sense. So if it's right there, like if you really are dead set on doing Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at SummerSlam, which I think that WWE are, just take that route. Like don't, overcomplicate things. Grab the low-hanging fruit. Why have him go through the entirety of the King of the Ring tournament to win something, a championship opportunity that most of us already agree he should just have? Meanwhile, you could give that opportunity to somebody else and still give us the destination that we're inevitably going towards of Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. This would be absolutely unnecessary and the definition of redundancy. And yet, even though I'm presenting the case as to why it doesn't really make any sense, I still have him making the finals and probably maybe even winning the damn thing. Coming in at number 10, we have Randy Orton. Huge fan of Randall Keith Orton. I think he's amazing. I think he can do no wrong, but I saw him make it to the finals of last year. And this is also a guy that's just perennially in the limelight whenever he wants. On top of that, the championship opportunity that we would get out of Randy Orton is something that we just randomly saw with John Cena. And I'm okay with Cena not having a rematch with Randy Orton, as awesome and legendary as the feud is, because I've already seen it. I feel like I got my nostalgia taste from it. On the other side, if you were to move to Monday Night Raw, it would be him and Gunther. And once again, it would be putting Gunther against people that he's already faced before as champion. Granted, that was Gunther's most interesting program and interesting match, so I wouldn't hate them running it again, but I'd rather see Gunther do something brand new. What's fascinating about Randy Orton is that he could just be a main eventer without even being in the main event. Anything that Randy Orton does just has main event aura around it, whether it's a match for a grudge feud or even a mid-card title, whatever it might be. Whatever Randy Orton is a part of is something that you have to put your eyeballs on. So for us to pay attention to Randy Orton, he doesn't need to be in a championship program. Randy has already earned our eyeballs with his legendary career. But I'm at the point in this list where if you were to win it, I think that'd be fine too, honestly. Coming in at number 9, I have Big Bronson Reed. You know what? Let me be really quick about this. I have number 9, Bronson Reed, and at number 8, I have Braun Breaker. They're basically together in this list. They're right now tied to the same program right now, and honestly, I don't want either of them to stray away from that. If it was next year, if Seth Rollins was running around as World World Heavyweight Champion, then yeah, either one of those two would be a fascinating option. But right now, I think the right call is to make sure that this group is as cohesive, as dangerous as a unit as possible, and giving either one of these guys the King of the Ring victory immediately puts that into jeopardy because it prevents Seth Rollins from being able to accomplish his goal. And if he were to accomplish his goal of cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase before SummerSlam, then all of a sudden we're imploding this faction before it really even has the legs to even get to something like a WrestleMania. So I want to give this faction a full proper year before any proper infighting, before either one of the Brawns gets championship hungry and starts looking over his shoulder at Seth Rollins and the shiny thing around his waist. I want these guys to be a strong, cohesive unit for at the very least right through to WrestleMania 42. And giving either of these guys the victory at the King of the Ring tournament completely just destroys that and puts that into shambles. So I don't want to see that right now. That being said, if it were to happen, I guess I'm on board because it's still two major young next generation main event stars that we could be creating with this victory here. But if we were able to wait, until now, I think we can wait one more year for it to actually make sense, for it to actually be perfect. I think right now it would be rushed. Let's talk about lucky number 7. Here I have the Redeemer, Rusev. I'm not like overly sold on Rusev, but if you want to really just stick the flag on the ground and say, this is how we're going to treat you if you come back to the WWE after a time in AEW, we will not hold it against you. In fact, we will push you to the moon. Look at what we did with Rusev. On top of that, I really like Rusev's character right now. I think his promos are really just weird and also just fascinating at the same time. And I really like him as an in-ring performer as well. And the prospect of him versus Gunther is a match that I wanted to see before Rusev even joined the WWE. And now you're telling me that I get that as a championship match? I know it'd be a weird dynamic, especially with right now both of them being heels, and I genuinely can't see either of them turning babyface. So I acknowledge that is a weird dynamic. But I also acknowledge that I know that match would be an absolute freaking banger. And number 6, I basically have number 7. So it's Aleister Black. And there's a lot of similarities to what I've said here with Rusev. Hey, look at what we did with this guy from AEW. I think the difference here is that Aleister Black maybe going after a Gunther, if he were to, win the tournament, swap over to Monday Night Raw, they can do shenanigans like that. Gunther versus Aleister Black, take my goddamn money. Or hell, let's pretend that between now and SummerSlam, Seth Rollins cashes in on Gunther, and then it's Seth Rollins versus Aleister Black. They kind of teased that on the most recent episode of Friday Night SmackDown, and it would be a great callback to their feud when Aleister lost his freaking eye to Seth Rollins in the pandemic era. I don't see Aleister Black versus John Cena, but I can make some really interesting scenarios with Aleister Black and what's going over on Monday Night Raw right now. Coming in at number 5, this one's a vanity choice. This one's for me. I went with Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Of course, unfortunately, to the sadness of everyone around the planet, he has already been eliminated from the tournament as of the making of this video. That should be considered a crime against humanity, and yet here we are, and no one is taking accountability for eliminating my wonderful, perfect specimen that is Dominic Mysterio. Bro, just imagine, all right? Just imagine a world where him and Roxanne Perez win their respective tournaments, and now they're running around as King and Queen of the Ring, and that leaves Liv Morgan on the oust because now there's a literal couple, you know what? Just in terms of titles, King and Queen, they're always together. My God, the Summer of Judgment Day would be fascinating to see both of those two running around as King and Queen of the Ring. Just for that alone, that's awesome. It's clear that Dominic Mysterio is going to be a major player as a heel in the WWE for the rest of his career. I think that he doesn't necessarily need this at this point in his career, but if they were to do it now, if they were to accelerate it, I'd be genuinely intrigued. Bias aside, what are we going to do with Dominic in the main event scene? My eyes would be glued to that. And don't forget that when Gunther was having his championship run, it was Gunther versus Dominic Mysterio, that little micro program that they had on Monday Night Raw that started making the crowd fall in love with Dominic Mysterio. That was the start of Dominic getting over, and now we're getting dirty Dom chants in every arena around the world. So there is kindling, and with a King of the Ring victory, you could have a giant forest fire of a ridiculously over Dominic Mysterio as a lovable heel, or maybe as a heelish babyface a la Eddie Guerrero. So yeah, I acknowledge my bias here, but I'm also recognizing that even bias aside, this would be dope. Coming in at number 4, I got Carmelo Hayes. I've really been digging the work that Carmelo Hayes has done. I know that it would be a bit double dipping to give him both the King of the Ring victory and the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. But ever since winning the Andre Battle Royal, I feel like they've done a really great job with his character development to the point where if they were to push him to King of the Ring, I'm down for this. I'm already a huge fan of Carmelo from an in-ring perspective. I think I'm even an even bigger fan of his promos and his character work. So all I really need to see from WWE is like a big vote of confidence. And they had a little bit of a vote of confidence by having him win the Battle Royal. But now I need the big one. And look, if you did want a brand new matchup against John Cena, how about a young Carmelo Hayes versus John Cena with The Miz in Carmelo Hayes' corner? It's another running back of nostalgia without actually having to do John Cena versus The Miz. It would still be John Cena versus The Miz from a story perspective, but now The Miz is being represented by Carmelo Hayes in the ring. That is a way to get our nostalgia fix while also giving us a fantastic match. I have no desire of seeing John Cena versus The Miz, but if it's John Cena versus Carmelo Hayes with The Miz being a mouthpiece for Carmelo Hayes in this program, and it's the two of them on the mic versus John Cena, that I'm down for. Coming in at number 3, I have Penta, because Penta is cool as hell. All right, that's literally my entire reasoning. Coming in at number 2, I have, similar to the women's, actually, I feel like the one that makes the most sense. I would love to see Sami Zayn win because it's just logical and based on the hard work that this guy has been doing in such a long career that spans the WWE and before the WWE. And this is just a guy that I want to see win a world championship at some point, all right? This is a guy that, like, in every sense of the word, has earned, at the very least, being given the opportunity to be a world champion. If he sucks, if he fails as a world champion, then so be it. But I don't want to die knowing that we left Sami Zayn being a champion on the table and we didn't see how it turned out. On top of that, that would be a hype moment in Saudi Arabia with that crowd going absolutely bananas for Sami Zayn winning, a huge favorite in Saudi Arabia with the crowd. And I'm a sucker for feel-good moments. So we have a feel-good moment in front of a crowd that would have probably such a great reaction to said feel-good moment. I think you've got yourself a recipe for just the perfect venue to do something for Sami Zayn here and finally give him that big opportunity. I know I don't really want to see Sami Zayn versus Gunther again because I've seen that before, but unfortunately I also have to admit that from a narrative piece, that makes sense to be Gunther's SummerSlam opponent. Based on his history with Gunther, based on the fact that he was one of the people that defeated Gunther, he was the one that dethroned the legendary IC championship reign, and his connection with Jey Uso, it really just makes sense. And as I said with Jade Cargill before, I am a fan of things making sense and things being logical, and too many things here make sense for me to not like this. Now let's talk about number 1. Call this copium, but I would have loved to see LA Knight win this thing. As of the making of this video, he still very well might. I don't think that he's going to, because I'm expecting him to get screwed over by Seth Rollins and the Bronze at some point. But LA Knight is a guy that I just want to see get an opportunity at a world title. I've been wanting him get this opportunity through Money in the Bank over the last 3 years, and they keep robbing us time after time after time. But we still have one more opportunity for LA Knight to stick his flag on the ground and say, I'm here as a proper main eventer, and for him to get a championship opportunity at SummerSlam, it would be so awesome. On top of that, this would actually give Gunther a brand new opponent if he were to win and if LA Knight were to be on Monday Night Raw, because Gunther versus LA Knight is kind of a perfect matchup in terms of the character that both of these guys play. They're like complete polar opposites, and sometimes in certain scenarios, opposites attract, and I'm down to see Gunther versus LA Knight. Additionally, and I hate to say this could set us up for another even nastier heartbreak. Let's say he wins this thing. Let's say he beats beats Gunther, and then Seth Rollins cashes in on LA Knight, breaking our hearts of the thing that we've been wanting to see for such a long time, while also bookending the storyline between LA Knight and Seth Rollins at a major place like SummerSlam, that is how you can make LA Knight a forever superstar in the WWE. Is this me injecting myself with copium? Yeah, I recognize that, but this isn't about who I think is going to win. It was about who I wanted to see win. All right, folks, I know that was a lengthy video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.